Oh boy, we're live. Hey everybody. Hey everyone. We are live and it's
Hello.
Fabulous Freak Out Friday. Woo!
I love it.
Yes, and I was with the fabulous, the amazing Foxy Jackson.
Hello.
So I'm going to read a little bit about who you are so everybody knows
Okay.
who you are, Foxy, okay? And if you're out there, please say hello to us. Post it in the comments. Say, hey, I'm here on Fabulous Freak Out Friday. So let us know that you're out there. Oh, my cousin's there. Hi, Wendy Ingrid
Uh,
Stutner and Kira. Look who Kira is there. We
Yay.
love Kira.
I just love
Kira,
her.
it's been such a long time since I've seen you, Kira. We're just on Zoom together.
Yeah.
Okay, so Foxy, you guys ready? First of all, she's a registered nurse. So if you have a health oops moment, Foxy's the one to call. She is the founder of the nonprofit organization called I Speak Foxy, which focuses on healing from sexual assault and violence, domestic interpersonal violence, and mental abuse. So, Foxy, would I be correct in saying that your main focus of teaching is all about teaching people how to work through their trauma that they've experienced in their lives, personal, emotional, physical, sexual abuse? Would that be correct?
Absolutely. That would be very correct. Very
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
And so you've done this I want you to tell us a little bit about the work that you've been doing and how you kind of got into this work and your work as a nurse and how it's kind of led you to really be a healer and a teacher of helping to guide people through all of that emotional
Yeah.
and sexual trauma that they've had. So
Yes.
take it away, Foxy.
Thank you, Liz. I just love the excitement. I love that it's Fabulous Freak Out Friday with Foxy. We're just going to make it. Oh, but I started out doing community work with youth throughout the church. I had lots of different groups that would come to me and I would teach them about their sexual traumas. When I became a nurse, I had worked with mainly elders. That was always my main focus, is working with elders, because I loved that relationship. In doing so, I learned a lot about healing and about how unhealed traumas manifest in later life. So
Mhm.
when I became, I
Now
was a
say
nurse.
that really slowly, what you just said.
Yes.
You
How,
all have to hear this because this is really, really important. Because it's one thing for the trauma to happen in your life,
mhm.
but what Foxy's sharing is really, really crucial. So say it slowly so everybody gets that.
Yes. What I saw in the elders is how unhealed traumas, like in the childhood and early life, manifest in later life. So even though we don't want to deal with those traumas, sometimes it's easier to bury those emotions, not deal with them, not talk about them, not feel them. Your body still remembers that trauma and it still harbors that energy that you felt, the sadness, the anger, the disappointment, the abandonment, and it manifests in later life. And that manifestation is what the psych world calls ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences.
Mm.
And even though I saw these things over 2 decades ago, they have now research that proves the very things that I saw in the spiritual world.
What have you seen when in working with clients and in working with your patients? What was like one of like three, just give us three examples of the manifestation and how it sort of hindered their life later on of not dealing with or not healing from those traumas on an emotional level.
Okay. I have some who wanted to be a doctor. This one lady wanted to be a doctor. She could not get that support from her family. They told her that she was only good enough to have sex. And so she, in order to manage that stress, developed two personalities, one who dealt with
Mm.
the trauma of being in that family, and one who had this fantasy world of who she really wanted to be. So now she's actually in a nursing home with schizophrenia. It's what they call schizophrenia.
Mhm.
I've had some who were so angry, and we see this quite often in the African American community and in the Native American community. They have high rates of high blood pressure, high rates of dialysis because of the high blood pressure. And the high blood pressure is from continuous trauma, continuous states of being in stress mode, continuous states of being angry, of not being able to release that anger. And so they carry it and carry it and carry it, and the body never calms down. And so then you get older and you've got the high blood pressure, you have the strokes, you have the heart attacks. The other one is the heart attacks. Now they actually have a diagnosis that's called broken heart.
Mm.
But back then, we saw it as when the woman dies and they've been married for a long time or been in a relationship for a long time, the man is soon to follow 6 months to a year afterwards.
Wow.
And it was mainly because of a broken heart.
Mm.
There are also cases where they were unable to have a relationship with a particular person. I'll use my auntie, my great auntie, for example. She was in excellent health. My father, she considered her son. And when my father died, well, he was murdered. My father was murdered. And because she thought that they brought him home drunk, but he was really suffering from a head injury, she
Oh,
blamed herself for that. And it
wow.
affected her heart. And so she had multiple heart issues for the rest of her life.
Oh, because over that trauma. Oh,
Yes.
well, I remember when I was a lot younger, I had an eating disorder on both sides of the spectrum.
Mhm.
So there was the binging piece, and then years later, it turned into anorexic and
Mhm.
panic attacks. And during that time, of course, I'm in and out of therapy, and I'm in and out of, reading books and understanding more about where these stem from. And one of the things that, I hear over and over again is over 50% of eating disorders has to do with unhealed sexual abuse. It's typically sexual abuse about the
Yeah.
body and about trying to control the body because
Mhm.
your body wasn't being controlled
Right.
at the time. So I really, and I have girlfriends who I have one in particular who's an extremely large woman, and she had a horribly traumatic sexual abusive
Yes.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I've heard that, especially like with sexual abuses, and
Mhm.
that I know that's what you deal with quite often, that if that
Yes.
goes unhealed, things like eating disorders pop up, or
Mhm.
OCD things pop up,
Yes.
or different kinds of anxieties or panic disorders. I got
Yes.
double whammied on that one. That was fun. But
If you think
it's
about
because
the
I did the work,
right.
and it was a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work.
Yes. It is definitely a lot of hard work. It's a
Yeah.
lot of challenges because when you go through a trauma, it becomes part of your identity. It's an identity change, which
Yes.
is part of the grieving process because you have to grieve who you were before that trauma and who you are now. So, in order to heal that trauma, you again have to change your identity. And for some, that's very difficult because for a long time, this has been my crutch. For example, I had one lady who came to me for coaching, and she had a hard time with school.
Hmm.
And it was just one of those things where every time you try, it seems like you just don't do enough.
Yeah.
And as we went into some of the things that she had experienced when she was younger, someone said, "You'll never be good enough to graduate college." And so even
Oh,
though consciously you're making those steps, subconsciously that's still in
yeah,
your mind that it's never going to be manifested.
right. Have
Yeah.
any of you, those of you who are tuning into us today, and by the way, please feel free to say hi.
Yeah.
Oh, Barb Nyman is here. Barb, lots of special love to you right now. Her mom just transitioned into spirit. Yeah. Lots of extra love to you, Barb.
Yes.
Um, so for those of you tuning in to us today, do you feel like you've had trauma in your life and you can see where the effects of it have maybe hindered you in your life in other areas, whether it's affected you physically,
Mhm.
mentally, or emotionally, even if it's happened, as a 5 or 6 year old, and now you're
Mhm.
in your 40s or your 50s or 60s, how has that manifested itself in your life? Because
Yes.
I strongly believe that if we walk around, I'd love if some of you would share, because I'm taking a look at the comments right now.
Okay.
Because I would, and Foxy, I'd like you to share of how
Mhm.
you work with people when you get someone who kind of is stuck in that old
Mhm.
pattern and that old trauma pattern. What kinds of processes do you do with people to kind of shift them out of it and get them to be able to move forward with their life?
The first step with it is to help them understand that they are not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because many people who go through things feel like I'm the only one going through this. No one else has ever gone through this like I have. And
Mm-hmm.
so oftentimes we will go through looking at, I'll have them research other people. For example, someone who didn't understand how to deal with conflict or believed that conflict led to fights. Well, then we'll talk about different people who were able to do that without fighting so that we discount that false belief that's there and controlling that part of their lives.
Right.
Then we start looking at patterns. Um, and it's not something that I can particularly do for them, because if I look at the painting and I point out, well, that's this stroke and that stroke, well, then they may miss all the other strokes because they're waiting on me to give them the information.
Right.
So we look at different events in their lives, different experiences that they want to work through. And we look at, so in this instance, um, I have an issue with confrontation, or have an issue with believing that people love me when they say they do. And so we'll go back. When was the time that someone said they loved you, but they didn't show that?
Right.
What is your definition of love? How do you define that?
Mm-hmm.
If your definition of love includes abandonment and pain and hurt and disappointments, are you able to redefine that? Helping them believe that they have the power to do that. Because
Mm,
once you redefine certain elements of life, it's easier to move into the next stage, which is
right.
understanding some positive aspects of that. What has this taught me?
Right.
What can I teach someone else because of this?
Oh, that's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, Joyce, Michelle shared, yes, I have traumas that affect me emotionally. I am a very emotional person. Yeah, no, I
Yes.
understand that. I do
Yes.
too. But I've learned to, one of the biggest pieces for me is that I've learned to recognize my triggers.
Yes.
And I'm constantly a work in progress with this, and working on when I get triggered, what is my reaction?
Right.
How am I reacting right now? How am I feeling right now?
Hmm.
And what can I do to shift that if I'm slipping into a downward spiral, so to speak?
Yes. Yes.
Kira shared that my mom has unaddressed anger. She is manifesting it as diabetic neuropathy.
Yes.
Interesting. How
Yes.
do I let her make her own choices? She doesn't see this emotional connection. And so Kira said, she also asked a question, is it possible to gently introduce someone who you can see is in trauma to the emotional connection to their physical manifestation? Great
Yes.
question, of course, Kira.
Yes. Absolutely.
How do you
So
do that?
one of the ways that I do that, of course, there's a book by Louise L. Hay called Heal Your Body.
Uh-huh.
And it lists different elements that you can have, and affirmations that you would say to redirect the energy in that place. For me, it has to be a holistic thing. I can't just look at you and say, well, you have diabetes, so you didn't enjoy the sweet parts of your life. I
Mhm.
have to help you understand, and you have to tell me, what were some things that you didn't enjoy in life? What were some things that you really wanted to do that you weren't able to do? What hindered you from doing that? What were some of the challenges? What would be the sweetest moment in your entire life? If that sweet
Yeah,
moment was losing someone, then you have to feel safe enough to grieve that loss.
right.
And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, there are a lot of people, for example, a woman who grew up in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And when they became pregnant, oftentimes they had no choices
Right.
as to if they were going to get sent away to live with an unknown relative, or if they were going to be made to have an abortion, whether they wanted to or not. And so they keep that a secret. They harbor that. and they never tell anyone about it, but they continuously go through different body manifestations like reproductive system problems, hormone imbalances, vaginal bleeding, heart problems, anything, nurturing, breast cancer. There's
Uh,
many breast cancer patients that I've talked to that have had issues with nurturing.
so in what Kira's asking, is it possible to gently introduce someone to emotional connection to their physical
Mhm.
manifestation? I would I would say start talking about the mind body
Yeah.
connection and about how things, you know, asking your mom, hey, do you feel worse when you think about the situation? Does your
Mhm.
diabetes get triggered when you think about different traumas that happen to
Mhm.
you? Do you get angry? Do you notice that you're in more pain when you have certain thoughts? Kind of just ask those subtle
Yeah.
questions. And if that doesn't work, just get her the Louise Hay book. There you go. Get her that Heal Your Life. I mean,
Yeah.
is it Heal Your Life? I can't
It's
remember.
Heal Your Life.
I mean, it's so
Yes.
old. She wrote it like back in the 80s, I think.
Yes.
And it's all
Yeah.
about, and some of the things I ascribe to, and we have to be careful that we walk a very, very
Yes.
fine line with work like that, with that type of work, because there's sometimes a guilt associated in the new age community, like, oh, you're creating your symptoms and you've created this,
Right.
like with a scolding tone about it.
Yeah.
And yes, there's an element that, yes, we do, these things are still carried with us from childhood and trauma. But I think it's good to do it, as you said, Kira, in like a gentle
Yes.
way of just starting
Yes.
to have that conversation. Do you notice like you get a physical reaction when this happens, or do you get a physical, more intense reaction when this happens, or when you have these thoughts? So,
Yes.
I mean, perfect
And
case in point.
even if you don't use her, because many times it's easier to talk about an imaginary person or yourself than it is to talk about that person.
Right,
For example, mom, when I get really sad, because the underlying emotion for anger is sadness.
right.
It's extreme sadness, and then you get so tired of being sad that you become angry.
Hmm.
And so it would be a conversation of, mom, when I get sad, I feel this way, and sometimes my stomach hurts over here.
Hmm.
Have you ever felt that way? Or do you have any suggestions on how I could relieve myself of that sadness?
Mm. I
Because
do
when
that.
you talk to them as if it's them, they've lived with this for so long and in denial for so long that, matter of fact, it's a line in my upcoming book. It said, I lied so much that it became the truth.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow, that is
Yeah.
that is powerful. I
Yeah.
lied so much to myself that it became the truth.
Yes.
Holy shit. That
Yes.
is that is powerful. That's a Foxy Jackson quote right there. So tell us about your book. You have a new book coming out.
I do have a new book coming up. It's called Lies and Lullabies, and it has
Lies
been
and
very
lies. Wow.
challenging. Yes. One thing, when you first think of lies, you think of falsehoods, but there
Right.
are so many definitions to the word lie. It can be lie down, it can be lie within. There are so many different elements of the word lie. And lullabies, we think of babies.
Right.
But sometimes we're adults and we need to be rocked. Sometimes we need to be comforted as adults, as teenagers. It's not just about being a baby. And
Right.
if you really listen to some of those lullabies, they're a little scary. Like Rockabye Baby in the Treetop. Why is your baby in the treetop?
Yeah,
When
put
the wind
that baby
blows,
in the treetop, for God's sake. Take that baby out of the treetop.
the
And when
cradle will fall.
it's gonna fall, it's gonna break and all that shit. Tess,
Yes. What the hell? So
I
it's like,
understand
that's
that.
what life really is, or what it's been for me. It's
Yeah.
full of lies and lullabies, different
Mhm.
elements of who I am and how I discovered that certain elements of me are because of my trauma.
Right.
And without my trauma, I would not be who I am now. So I can't say, I wish that never happened,
Right.
you know, but it's a process to get to that point of saying, I wish that never happened.
I
Um,
just love this. I love, yes. And I I understand that because I've been through that as well. Like I wish therapy is not going to make it different.
No.
It's going to make it different are our thoughts.
Right.
And choosing thoughts that serve us.
Yes.
Because when you choose thoughts that serve you, your feelings change.
Absolutely.
When your feelings change, your actions change.
Yes.
Feelings, thoughts, feelings, action. That's the way that I've noticed the brain works.
Yes.
Thought happens, and then you get a feeling from that thought.
Mm-hmm.
I just had it with a conversation a few minutes ago. I had a thought and I expressed that thought. And then all of a sudden I had a feeling. All of a sudden I got anxious about it and charged about it, right? And now I have to take action on it because now I'm angry, right? But
Absolutely.
stupid thought. So choose thoughts that serve you.
Absolutely. And understand that it is okay to change your belief system, because our belief systems were passed down through us, through our parents, our grandparents, through society, the things we see on television, the things we hear on the news. So this all works to develop our belief system.
Right.
And we have to be okay with changing that belief system,
Right.
which may go against something grandma taught you for your whole life, you know. But you gotta understand that grandma taught you that for the period that grandma lived.
Right.
Not for the period that you're living.
That's a true statement, because it's such a evolvement of ideas, and the world is evolving so quickly, and we have to keep up with that.
Yeah.
Okay, Joyce Michelle Cohen shared, I do meditations daily. However, I am very emotional and do not have people around me to support my emotions. Any suggestions of how I can help myself when I am having a tough day emotionally, especially around triggers I cannot control? Oh, okay. You'll take that first, then I'll jump in.
Yes.
I've got some
You
ideas.
need to get a pen and a piece of paper.
Pen and a piece of paper, Michelle.
Yes.
Joyce, I'm sorry.
Pen and a piece of paper. And you need to journal. When you're feeling those emotions, you need to let them out of your body. I always say, let that shit out. There's not enough room inside of you for all of those emotions. They're meant to be let out. You feel them, you let them pass through you, and you put them on paper. And you put them on paper so you can progress yourself through those emotions and how you want to feel. Because right now, your concentration is on how you don't want to feel. You don't want to be emotional. You don't want to be sad. You don't want to cry. You don't want to be angry. You need to change that focus to what you want. I want to be happy today. However, I'm currently struggling with this sadness that seems overwhelming. It seems overwhelming because I can't stop crying about this experience that I had. I can't stop crying about my sexual assault. I can't stop thinking about how it keeps making me afraid of having sex, anxious about starting a relationship. However, I have the power to be happy. I have the power to understand that this is a normal reaction to this trauma. I choose happiness. You have to make that decision of how you want to feel and meditate on that. When you do meditate, you allow those breaths to take out all that negative emotions. And when I say negative emotions, I mean those that make you feel something that is not happy. Those that make your stomach hurt, your stomach burns, your chest hurts, your body aches. Release those emotions out and say what you want to be replaced in your body.
Yes. So important.
Always get everything out, but we got to know what we want to put in.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That reminds me of an exercise. So, Joyce, I'm hoping that you have pen and paper. So allowing and not allowing those things that you don't want in, that don't serve you.
Right.
So, if you're journaling every night, here's an exercise. Actually, this is best to do in the mornings. And you're going to want to write this down because it's kind of a 20 to 30 minute process. Every morning, you're going to write down the thoughts that do not serve you. Then you're going to write down the feelings that do not serve you based on the thoughts that you have. So the first one is write down the thoughts that don't serve you, feelings that don't serve you based on those thoughts. Then you're going to write down the actions that do not serve you based on those feelings and those thoughts. All right? Do you have that? So you're writing down the thoughts that don't serve you, feelings that don't serve you, actions that don't serve you, do not serve you. Then we're going to flip it. And when I do this exercise, I really have to conjure up and use my imagination and use all the resources that I have within me. Then I write down the thoughts that do serve me about whatever situation I'm writing about. So the thoughts that do serve me: I am wonderful, I am strong, I'm courageous, I am warrior woman, I have got clarity, I'm brilliant, whatever it is. I write down thoughts that do serve me. Then I write down feelings that I have based on those thoughts that do serve me. So when I have those feelings about myself, that I'm courageous and warrior woman, I feel better. I feel stronger. I feel clearer. I feel happy. I feel embodying consciousness. So you write down the thoughts that do serve you and then the feelings that do serve you based on those thoughts.
Yes.
Then, of course, you write down the actions that do serve you. And you have to again, use your imagination, those thoughts and the feelings and the actions that serve you. So what are those actions are? You're clearer, you walk with more confidence, you do this for yourself, you exercise, you take better, whatever it is. And then here's the most important piece of this exercise. Most important piece of this exercise is that then you visualize yourself in the most toughest situation, those trigger situations, Joyce, those trigger situations, and you feel and see yourself coming through it like the star and the champion of your life.
Yes.
That is the piece that is crucial with that exercise. That you see and feel yourself coming out as the champion of your life. You cannot end the exercise without doing that visualization. It could take 3 minutes, it could take 30 minutes, whatever time you want, but you've got to feel it and feel yourself, see yourself in the shitty situation, being triggered, but see yourself coming and feel yourself coming out like a star. Try that for 21 days and message me how that helps you. I've done it. Works like a charm. It's the same thing that Foxye is sharing. You've got to really filter what's coming in.
Yeah.
And then during your day, you get to be cognizant of all the negative thoughts that you're having about yourself, right? That exercise was like gold to me.
Yes.
When I learned that. Joe Dispenza taught that to me a million years ago.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah,
Jojo. I may have to use that, definitely.
Yes. So Joyce, I really want to see what happens. You've got to have the discipline to do it every single day.
Yeah.
You can't expect things to change and wish things to change if you're not willing to put in the time and the energy for things to change. Right? I mean, you know that, right? You've put in a lot of work and energy. Yeah. So tell us about how people can get in touch with you, what you've got coming up. Tell us about Lies and Lullaby and when that's coming out and when everybody can buy that.
The easiest way to get in contact with me is to go to the website, www.ispeakfoxye.com. It's ISPEAK.
I'm going to type it in right now.
Okay, FOXYE.com. You can look at some of the blogs. I try to post at least one blog a month because I am still a nurse and that work hours are kind of different right now. And then you can also find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called I Speak Foxye. And in there, we share different tips on how to heal. People post questions. They post motivational and inspirational things. I post different events that I have coming up. I also have a page that's I Speak Foxye. If you'd rather go to a business page, you can also just look me up, Foxye Jackson, and everything filters onto my page as well. The upcoming book, Lies and Lullabies, was supposed to be out next month. However, we had an increase in COVID cases, which increased my work hours. And so I'm just a little bit behind because I had to go to work. Imagine that, you know.
Imagine that.
It's crazy, but
I'm still come out with another book is just brilliant. I mean, it's really, I'm so excited to read it. This is like
I'm excited to
great.
finish. And
Yeah.
just know that when you read this book, it has been over 27 years in the making. And it is because of the first book that I published. I've published now 4 books, I think, with Kira Schaefer and As You Wish Publishing. We just released another one that was already a bestseller from day one. All of them are bestsellers. It's awesome and amazing. Yes, yes, yes. And the last one is called Enduring Wisdom, which is something that we should be passing on to one another, especially as women, because we are the creators. So we have to pass those things on. Lies and Lullabies is 27 years in the making. It is about my story and how I progressed from my traumas through the work, going through the work. And as I write it, I'm still going through the work.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you've shared with me some of your life circumstances, and it's been a tough journey, and to see you come through it and now teaching this work out there to people and helping them heal through past trauma so you can live a full, vibrant, joy-filled life.
Yes.
All right, everybody. So make sure and check out Foxye's website. I posted it right there. It's I Speak Foxye. I love that. I speak Foxye.com.
Yes.
And Foxye is Foxye. I love that spelling of it. I speak Foxye.com. Check out her website. Stay in touch with her. Get on her email list. Make sure that you pick up the book as soon as it comes out, because I know it's going to be fabulous. Yes. And any last parting words of wisdom? Go. Say it.
Oh my gosh. 2 things. Those in the DC area and in India, I'm working on doing a small segment on Fox once a month on Fox 5 Plus. It's going to be amazing. And the last thing I would leave.
Let's back up to that.
I know, right?
So Foxye is going to be a regular segmented guest on a Fox broadcast in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And also in India.
Yes. Yes.
That is amazing. And that's with Dr. Gloria, what was her name?
Crossland. Dr. Gloria Crossland and Miss M, Nalimia Mura, but we just call her Miss M.
So she's a regular segmented guest on a TV show. Now, can we see this also streamed on YouTube, right?
I don't know if they have done it, but I'm going to do it, because once it's finished airing, then they'll send me a link of the video and I can post it. But of course, you can't show it before
It's absolutely amazing that you're doing this.
Yes. And it's on my YouTube channel. I also have a YouTube channel, I Speak Foxye. So some of the other videos of conferences and webinars and appearances are on there too.
I Speak Foxye, Foxye, everybody.
Yes.
Yay, that is fabulous. And there was one other thing you started to talk about.
Oh, never allow your healing to be contingent upon receiving something from someone you may never get.
Oh.
Yes.
Bam! That's right. Say that again.
Never allow your healing to be contingent upon receiving from someone something you may never get. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
That is absolutely beautiful.
It really helped me with releasing feelings of anger.
You never get that apology, right?
You may never get it.
Closure. And so your process and healing should never be contingent on getting something from someone else. That was exquisite.
Yes.
And that's called a Foxyism.
Yes.
It's got lots of really words and pearls of wisdom.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speak Out Friday.
Yes.
Live. All right, everybody. Have an amazing weekend.
Absolutely. Enjoy your weekend.
Yay.
Mwah.
Bye.